You wake at midnight in your cramped hovel on the edge of London, knowing you have the worst job that has ever existed. You're a Gong farmer, and tonight you'll descend into the cesspits beneath the city's privies to shovel human waste with your bare hands. The smell never leaves you. It's soaked into your skin, your hair, your clothes. Children run from you in the street. Dogs won't come near you. You're paid more than most laborers, but the money barely compensates for the fact that you're literally drowning in other people's excrement, that the toxic fumes will probably kill you before you're 40, and that you'll die the same way many Gong farmers do, suffocated in a pit of sewage when the gases overwhelm you. This is your life. This is the worst job in history. Today, advanced AI technology allows us to transform historical records and archaeological evidence into vivid recreations, bringing this nightmare profession back to life. Join me as we experience a night in the life of a Gong farmer in 1500s London, understand why this job existed, and discover why you should be eternally grateful you weren't born into this profession. What is a Gong farmer? First, let's clarify what you do. Despite the name, you're not farming anything. Gong is medieval slang for a privy or latrine, derived from the Anglo-Saxon gang, meaning to go. You're a Gong farmer because you harvest the contents of these privies. You remove human waste from the cesspits beneath London's toilets. London in the 1500s has no sewage system. Wealthy households have privies, small wooden structures built over deep pits where waste accumulates. These cesspits are lined with brick or stone, but they're not watertight, meaning sewage seeps into the surrounding soil and contaminates wells. The poor simply use chamber pots dumped into the streets or communal privies that serve entire neighborhoods. These cesspits fill up. When they do, someone must empty them. That someone is you. By law, you can only work at night. The work is too disgusting, too smelly, and too disruptive to be done during daylight hours. So you work from midnight until dawn, shoveling waste into barrels, hauling it through the dark streets, and dumping it outside the city walls or into the Thames. You're paid well by medieval standards, perhaps 3 times what a laborer earns, because almost no one will do this work voluntarily. But the money comes at a terrible price: your health, your social status, and quite possibly, your life. Your tools and preparation. As midnight approaches, you gather your tools. You have a long-handled shovel, wooden buckets, barrels for hauling waste, a cart if you can afford one, and most importantly, a cloth soaked in vinegar or herbs that you tie over your nose and mouth. The cloth doesn't help much, but it's something. You wear your worst clothes, rough wool tunic and breeches that are permanently stained brown and crusted with dried filth. There's no point wearing anything good. The stench never washes out. You've tried. Some Gong farmers work nearly naked to avoid ruining clothes, but the waste splashes and you risk infection through any cut or scrape. You carry a lantern or torch, though descending into a cesspit with open flame is dangerous. The gases that accumulate can ignite, causing explosions that have killed Gong farmers. But you need light to see in the pitch-black pits, so you risk it. You also bring a long stick or pole for testing the depth and consistency of the waste. You've heard stories of farmers who stepped into pits without testing and sank immediately, drowning in sewage before anyone could pull them out. You don't want to be one of those stories. Some nights you work alone, other nights you have a partner or two. The job goes faster with help, and there's someone to pull you out if something goes wrong. But partners mean splitting the payment. So many Gong farmers work solo despite the danger. Descending into hell. You arrive at tonight's job, a wealthy merchant's house in the city. The household has paid you in advance to empty their cesspit, which hasn't been cleaned in years and is now overflowing, the smell so bad the family can't use the privy. The privy is a small wooden structure in the courtyard, built over a brick-lined pit perhaps 10 feet deep and 8 feet across. You can smell it from 50 feet away. a thick, choking stench of decomposing human waste, urine, and whatever else people have thrown down there over the years. You remove the wooden seat and peer into the darkness. Your torch illuminates the horror below. A pit filled nearly to the brim with semi-liquid sewage, the surface crusted and moving with flies and maggots. The smell is indescribable. It's not just unpleasant, it's physically oppressive. A presence that makes breathing difficult, that triggers gagging reflexes, that seems to coat your lungs. You tie the vinegar-soaked cloth tighter over your face, though you know it's nearly useless. You've been doing this long enough that you're somewhat accustomed to the smell, but accustomed doesn't mean you don't suffer. It means you can function despite wanting to vomit constantly. You lower a ladder into the pit. The rungs are slippery with slime. You descend carefully, your feet finding purchase on the ladder while sewage sloshes around you. At the bottom, you're standing ankle-deep, sometimes knee-deep in human waste. The consistency varies. Sometimes it's liquid enough to shovel, other times it's thick, with solid masses that must be broken apart. The worst part isn't the smell or even the feel of waste seeping into your clothes and shoes. The worst part is the realization that you're breathing this. The air in the pit is thick with methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases produced by decomposition. These gases are poisonous. Breathe too deeply and you'll become dizzy, confused. Breathe long enough and you'll pass out. Pass out in a cesspit and you'll drown in sewage, your body found hours or days later, bloated and unrecognizable. The social cost, a pariah. You're paid well for this work, but the social cost is devastating. You're an outcast, shunned by respectable society. People literally hold their noses when you approach. Children mock you. No one will marry you. What woman would accept a husband who smells like sewage constantly? You live on the edges of society, in the worst housing, with other social outcasts, tanners, butchers, and those who work with death and filth. You drink heavily, because alcohol dulls the horror and helps you sleep despite the smell that never leaves you. The law restricts when and where you can work. You can only work at night between midnight and dawn. You're forbidden from operating during daylight hours because your presence and smell would disturb the city's business. Even at night, there are restrictions on which streets you can use to transport waste. You're literally seen as contaminated, associated with filth and disease in a society that believes in humoral medicine and miasma theory. That disease spreads through bad smells. You're walking proof that the city is diseased, a reminder of the waste and decay beneath the surface of civilization. People would rather not acknowledge you exist, yet you're essential. Without Gong farmers, the city would drown in its own waste. The cesspits would overflow, contaminating wells, spreading disease, making entire neighborhoods uninhabitable. You're doing necessary work that prevents plague and pestilence, but you're rewarded with contempt and isolation. The health consequences: dying young. The work is killing you slowly. The constant exposure to sewage causes infections. Any cut or scrape becomes infected, leading to festering sores. Your lungs are damaged from breathing toxic fumes night after night. You cough constantly, bringing up black phlegm. Your life expectancy is perhaps 35 to 40 years if you're lucky. Many Gong farmers die younger, killed by the work directly, suffocated by gases, drowned in cesspits, poisoned by prolonged exposure. Others die from diseases contracted through their work: dysentery, typhoid, various fevers for which medieval medicine has no cure. You've seen fellow Gong farmers drop dead mid-work, overcome by fumes. You've helped pull bodies from pits, colleagues who descended and never came up, found floating face down in sewage, their features barely recognizable. There's no workers' compensation, no safety regulations. If you die on the job, your body is removed and another Gong farmer takes your place. Your family, if you have one, receives nothing. The work must continue. Why this job existed? You might wonder why anyone would do this work, why the job exists at all. The answer is simple. Medieval cities generate enormous amounts of human waste, and that waste must go somewhere. In 1500s, London, perhaps 50,000 people live crowded into a small area. Each person produces waste daily. With no sewage system, no running water, and limited understanding of sanitation, the waste accumulates in cesspits, streets, rivers. Something must be done, or the city becomes uninhabitable. Gong farming is that something. It's the medieval solution to waste management, crude and horrifying but functional. You and your fellow Gong farmers are the city's immune system, removing the filth that would otherwise poison everyone. The job exists because the alternative is worse. Cities drowning in waste, plague spreading unchecked, civilization collapsing under its own filth. Someone must do this work, and society pays premium wages to ensure someone will, despite the horror. The legacy, grateful for modern sanitation. As dawn approaches and you finish your night's work, you return to your hovel, strip off your filthy clothes, and try to wash in cold water that never really gets you clean. The smell remains. It's in your skin, your hair, the very pores of your body. You count your coins. Tonight's work has paid well. But as you drift into exhausted sleep, you know you'll do it all again tomorrow night and the night after until the work kills you or you save enough to escape this life. This was the reality for Gong farmers in the 1500s London. They performed the worst job in history, doing essential work that kept cities functioning while suffering health consequences, social ostracism, and early death. Modern sewage systems, invented in the 1800s, eliminated Gong farming. Today, our waste disappears down toilets, processed by treatment plants, handled by machinery and chemical processes. We never think about it, never see it, never smell it. But for most of human history, waste disposal meant jobs like Gong farming, someone physically removing filth, suffering for the comfort of others. Understanding this should make us grateful for modern sanitation, for the invisible infrastructure that keeps us clean and healthy, and for the fact that no one today must descend into cesspits to shovel sewage with their bare hands. This was the life of a Gong farmer, the worst job in history. If you found this glimpse into medieval horror compelling, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and next time you flush a toilet, remember you're using technology that eliminated one of humanity's most horrifying professions.